My name is Marnita Harris. I am the Vice President of Economic Equity and Inclusion here at the Detroit Regional Chamber. I am happy to be here with Angela Thompkins. Angela is the Vice President of External Affairs and Media Relations and the Chief Diversity Officer of CMS and Consumers Energy Company. Angela and I will discuss how economic fairness, access, and inclusion affect business outcomes. The Detroit Regional Chamber believes that fair distribution and access to wealth fosters innovation, talent attraction, and economic prosperity, and it adds to a business's bottom line. So, good morning, Angela. How are you today?
Marnita, thank you so much for having me with you today. I am doing wonderful and I am excited for the conversation today.
Yay, I'm glad that you are here and you took the time to do this with us. I want to start off if you give you some time, or could you take a moment to share a bit about yourself and your background?
Yes, I would love to do that. So, as you stated, I'm the Vice President of External Affairs and Chief Diversity Officer here at CMS Energy and Consumers Energy. And I think in today's environment, what is so wonderful and unique about what I'm doing is the opportunity to build on some of the legacy work we've done internally with diversity, equity, and inclusion. We started our program here in 2018. And our goal at the time was to have an internal and external focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. But we needed to start internal first with all of our 8,000 plus coworkers. And so we started on this journey to educate all of our coworkers on what those words mean. What is diversity? What is equity? What is inclusion? What do the words mean? Why does it matter? As you shared in your intro, why is it so important to business outcomes? Why is it important for our customers? And so we fully believe that if our coworkers know and understand diversity, equity, and inclusion, they can create sustainable and equitable solutions and outcomes for our customers. And so that understanding needed to happen internally first. And so we stayed the course with our strategy. That diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy for us since 2018 has been to embed diversity, equity, and inclusion into everything we do at the company. So not just as it relates to representation, our people, the culture, but truly embedding diversity, equity, and inclusion into business processes across the entire organization. And that is where or how our customers can really feel the impact of the strategy is in our outcomes. But I take you back to that starting point of all of us need to have that same shared understanding of what diversity, equity, and inclusion is. And so we are very proud to have completed our foundational diversity, equity, and inclusion training across the entire organization. So all of our coworkers have gone through a foundational full day diversity, equity, and inclusion training. And what is so great about that, at the onset, we had many of our coworkers say, why do I have to attend this? I don't get it. I don't understand why we're talking about this in the workplace. But we were able to see through employee engagement survey results, through surveys, post-training, people walked away from the training saying, oh, this wasn't what I thought it was. This was very inclusive. I saw myself in this conversation. It wasn't what I initially thought as I was walking in. And so again, that shared understanding of what diversity, equity, and inclusion is allows for us to see every one of our coworkers and understand the unique various issues that our customers might have. We service, customers across the entire state of Michigan. What might be true for a rural community is very different than what might be needed for an urban community. We have, some of our customers are struggling financially. So our vulnerable communities may need very different solutions. Our customers who are living in older homes need some energy efficiency tips and savings on, what does insulation look like, or if you're building a new home, that is different, right? And so it's important for us to understand the diverse, unique, and different needs that people have so we can have the right solutions to address those needs. And so started with the diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy internally. And about 3 years ago, we moved our diversity, equity, and inclusion team out of our people and culture function and moved it over to our sustainability team. And so that is how we started to build and incorporate our communities and our customers into our diversity strategy. And so that following that then led me owning our corporate foundation, corporate giving, as well as media relations. And so how do we take what we built internally and expand and build upon that externally with our customers and the communities that we serve? And so a couple of quick examples of what we've been doing in that space. Internally, we started business and employee resource groups, and many people may know of those, or affinity groups. And so we knew that was a grassroots level for us internally. So who best to tell us what people need than the people who actually identify with that particular group? And so we started affinity groups or business and employee resource groups internally, very successful for us. And so we're using that grassroots model externally to connect with our customers and the communities that we serve. Very boots on the ground, grassroots levels. We're going in community to build relationship where people are, whether it's faith groups, trusted organizations, or key influencers in community where trust already exists, to say, hey, how can we partner with you? How can we help you? How do we build relationship with you? And so we're taking that model internally and building upon that externally to better connect with our customers, to build trust. And once we have that trusting relationships, we're hearing different things from our customers than what we've heard in the past. They trust us. They're more willing to share and be open about what they need and what assistance they might need. So we can now build the best solutions for some of those issues.
And so I can hear you say my next question was what were the benefits, but I heard you've already talked about some of the benefits, like you get more trust from your customers, more trust really from your team, and your team is engaged in understanding, like, oh, I see me in these conversations. Are there any other like bottom line benefits that you can talk about, like that added to the work with all of those implementations? How has that like affected any of your bottom line goals?
So when we think about, our bottom line goals, business outcomes, right, as you said in your opening, how do we connect this? What sometimes it is a feel good program. Many people like to think, if they don't truly understand, our strategy to embed diversity, equity, and inclusion across the entire enterprise for all business units to own it. We have now, as we think about the Michigan Public Service Commission, as we're talking about our rate case development, we're embedding environmental justice communities and how we serve differently, reliability. When we know there's a power outage that happens, vulnerable communities experience that outage much differently than other communities. And so if we think about our electric reliability investments, how do we focus on those communities, aging infrastructure that need it the most, because that impact will be much differently. And so we've been able to look through that lens of equity in our electric reliability roadmap with our vulnerable communities plan, and how do we make sure that someone who experiences an outage in those communities are not only getting improved reliability, but also how are we showing up from our foundation, our volunteerism, assistance to support where an outage, someone may not be able to go to a hotel, someone may not be able to
Right.
replenish groceries if they've lost them after a couple of days. And so those initiatives don't come from my team. Those come from our coworkers directly in the business who say, oh, because I've had this training, I understand my customer differently. I understand my work, the impact of my work much differently. And so the entire enterprise is owning this. And so
Mhm.
they can see things quicker, closer, and differently than if it was just being driven from our team. And so we're actually able to have solutions that are meaningful and impactful for those customers and communities that really need some help.
That is awesome. That is awesome because we oftentimes, from a business standpoint, and I believe it's important from a business standpoint, when you get to know customers, if you're loyal to your customers are loyal to you.
Yes.
And understanding that the term of equity, the term of inclusion, of bringing folks in, providing access is not a taboo type thing. It's a thing that allows us all to thrive. And it's all about providing, and that's what I'm hearing what consumers and CMS is doing is listening and providing an opportunity, no matter your income level, that we're here for you and we understand what you're going through. And you as a customer are important to us. And so we're okay, you're out and we hear about it all the time. We're in Michigan. You know, storms happen either summer or a winter storm. And that's the first thing you worry about, especially if you're in a vulnerable state, is all the food in your refrigerator that you bought for this month. And
Mhm.
so having that type of what I want to say is awareness. Awareness is very important. So from a business standpoint, because like, oh, okay, it's not just out. We're going to move forward and go to the next steps to check to
Yes.
see what's going on with our customers. So I just love to hear that. So I'm going to follow up with this question because how are you navigating the contentious environment around this
Yeah.
topic? It is a contentious environment right now. So how is consumers and CMS navigating around this topic?
So we're staying the course. We're committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion, not only for our customers, but as I just said, for our customers and our communities as well. And while it may be contentious generally in the external environment, we
Hmm.
don't necessarily view it as contentious here because
Okay.
we value diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we believe that our coworkers are they deserve an environment where they can be their full best and authentic selves in the workplace. And that means creating space for everyone and being respectful. That same philosophy is true for our customers. We need to see each and every customer to be able to identify solutions for their unique and individual needs. And so we see it as a part of our culture. And so not to be swayed or shifted by the
Hmm.
external environment, that we're staying true to our values, our culture, what it means for us. And so, sometimes we may be ahead of the curve, sometimes we may be behind the curve, but what is true is that we stay committed and we stay consistent to what matters for us, what connects to our values, and who we are as a company.
Love that. What is your organization doing to contribute to a more equitable community statewide?
Yeah, so when I think about economic equity, it's more than just dollars and cents. When I think
Right.
about economic equity, I think that economic equity is really the outcome, right, of the work. And it starts
Hmm.
with access. We started a program called Energizing Equity, and it was intended for us to go across the state, engage in community at the grassroots level to understand what our customers were dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And we went across the state in 2025 and had some, very personal one-on-one conversations. And the number one theme consistently across the state was access. And that is access to information, access to resources, access to people. And if you just continue to expand that, that is access to workforce opportunities, access, you name it, is access. And so having access to opportunity or resources really differentiates whether or not there's that equitable economic viability, right? And so if you're not at the table, if you're not connected to the resources, if you're not connected to the information, if you don't know what the jobs of the future are, you're not getting prepared and ready, right? And so one of the things we really believe is breaking down the barriers of access to information, access to jobs. And so that's that community partnership on a grassroots level. But what we also know and understand is that their economic or equitable economic inclusion is different, right? And so we just announced a $5 million donation to several agencies across the state of Michigan for our customers who may be in need of some type of assistance. That assistance is not always their energy bill. We know that healthcare costs are the number one reasons for many bankruptcies across the state of Michigan. And so as families are having difficult conversations at their kitchen table, and it may be, how do I pay this medical? We don't want that energy burden to be a part of the conversation. So how can we connect our customers to access resources that can help reduce some of the financial strain? We know the cost of everything is going up nowadays. You see groceries, you see, healthcare, housing, transportation, the cost of everything is going up. And so how can we be an assistance? How can we help our customers? What we know and see today is that the help is available. Oftentimes people don't know that the help is. So that's that access to the information, access to the resources. And so we're doing our job to connect at that grassroots level with local nonprofits, with trusted stakeholders and organizations in community to help us spread the word, to connect our customers to resources that might help reduce some of the financial strain that some of our families across the state are struggling with and dealing with.
That is awesome. That's awesome that you guys did a tour, last year around your service and area just to hear the people. And then a lot of times, when we think about access, and that's what we here at the chamber believe, is that access provides opportunities.
Yes.
That is just that access provide opportunities. And so if I have access to know about something, then I can make the decision of how I move. And but if I'm not thinking, I'm very like, I'm not informed. So I don't know that it is this. I don't know that there's opportunities out there. And when you know that there's an opportunity, you most likely would take advantage of it because you're in need. So I
Absolutely.
want, yeah, so I want to close by saying, is there anything else that you want to share about the work that CMS and Consumers Energy is doing in this access space, in this equity space? We'll close with that.
Yeah, so as I think about our business priorities, I want to take it back to that as you started out the conversation.
Mhm.
What really this is about business outcomes, right? It's a business imperative. And so as we think about the reliability of our systems, the investments that we're making in our system across the state to improve electric reliability for all customers, we're looking at that, and not to get technical, but we're looking at, reliability from, I'll just say, I don't want to talk about substations and circuits,
Mhm.
but think about it as like geographically, what might be needed in Southeast Michigan is very different than what might
Right.
be needed in West Michigan. But
Yes.
we talk about equity, right? That is equity. There is no one
Mhm.
size fits all solutions. There's different needs. We also, as we think about how do we help reduce costs for our customers? That is important for us. We stand in this work with our customers. Internally, we say we see you and you belong. That same thing is true for our customers. We see you
Mhm.
and you matter. We stand here with you and we're working to reduce costs. We're working to connect our customers to resources and assistance. so that we can help as much as we can lessen that burden. And we know that if we can help lessen the financial strain that our customers might be facing, that allows for them to make other and different choices that are important, right, for their family. And so as we think about economic equity, it is for us imperative in all things that we do. And so reducing costs for our customers, standing with them, and providing access to resources and information to help make things easier is what we are about.
Angela, I just thank you so much for taking their time to spend with me for us to have this discussion. I have learned so much about what CMS and Consumers Energy is doing, and great things. And you did the internal look as well as the external look, and have your team engaged in solutions that will, at the end of the day, help consumers' bottom line. So that's what it's all about. I really appreciate you so much. Again, I want to say that again, for taking your time, because this is important. And I think it's important for people to know what you're doing, what consumers is doing, and how you guys are very, very dedicated and committed to the work that you're doing. So I appreciate you so much.
Thank you for this important conversation today. It was my pleasure.